Today, we're diving into that amazing feeling of being completely in the zone. You know, that state of effortless focus where you do your absolute best work and it almost feels like you're not even trying. So, what if you could tap into that feeling whenever you want it? Let's figure out how.
Seriously, think about it for a second. A time you were maybe working on a project, or playing a video game, or practicing an instrument, and you just completely lost track of everything. Your phone buzzing, the fact that you're hungry, the clock on the wall, it all just vanished.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Your actions and your awareness merge. You are simply doing it. You're not thinking about the steps, you're not narrating it in your head. You just become the action. And this isn't some random mystical feeling. It's actually a recognized psychological state.
So, what is this in the zone feeling, really? Let's actually break down the experience. Because it turns out, scientists have been studying this for decades, and they have a very specific name for it. You know, if you were explaining this to a kid, you'd say it's like when you're so into a video game or playing a sport that a whole hour zips by like it was 5 minutes. Your brain and your body are just in perfect sync, and you're enjoying the challenge without any of that internal chatter or friction. That's the feeling we're chasing here.
All right, so what do we actually call this state of peak performance and effortless focus? It's time to put a name to this magic.
And that official term is flow. It was coined by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful. And he defined it as this mental state of complete absorption, where you are so involved in what you're doing that literally everything else just melts away. People who experience flow talk about deep enjoyment, laser-like focus, and this incredible feeling of being in total control.
And look at this comparison. It really shows you the difference. With typical effort, right, our focus is all over the place, the work feels forced, and we're super self-conscious, always worrying about how we're doing. But in a flow state, all of that just disappears. Your focus becomes deep and penetrating. The action feels effortless, and your awareness is completely absorbed in the task at hand. Now here's the most important part. This state isn't random. It's not just luck. Researchers have actually identified the specific ingredients you need to create the conditions for flow. And it turns out there are 8 of them.
Yep, there are 8 key components that tell you that you're in a state of flow. You can almost think of them like a checklist for your brain. And we can actually break them down into 2 really useful groups.
Okay, so first up are the 4 setup keys. These are the conditions you have to create yourself. You need a clear goal so you know exactly what you're aiming for. You need immediate feedback so you know if you're getting closer or further away. There has to be a perfect challenge-skill balance, not so hard it's frustrating, not so easy it's boring. And finally, you need deep focus, which really just means getting rid of all distractions.
And once you get those conditions just right, you unlock the experience keys. This is what it actually feels like on the inside. You get a real sense of control over what you're doing and a loss of self-consciousness. You stop worrying about what anyone else thinks. You experience time distortion, where hours feel like minutes. And last, this thing called an autotelic feeling. It's just a fancy way of saying the activity becomes its own reward. You do it just for the pure joy of doing it.
Okay, so now we know what flow is and we know what it's made of. The big question is, how do we actually get there on purpose? This next part is the good stuff, the practical blueprint for engineering this state for yourself.
I love this way of thinking about it. It's the perfect mental model, right? You don't just randomly stumble into the final boss fight. No, you choose your mission. You make sure the difficulty is set just right for your level, and you clear out everything else so you can focus. We're going to apply that exact same logic to our work, our hobbies, everything.
So here it is, the 5-step blueprint. First, pick your mission. Choose something that actually matters to you. Second, set a clear goal you can actually finish in one sitting. Third, balance the challenge with your current skill level. If it feels too easy, find a way to make it harder. If it's too hard, break it down into smaller pieces. Fourth, create a focus bubble. Turn off the phone, close the tabs, and finally, number 5, start with a ritual, a simple, tiny action that tells your brain, okay, it's go time.
And this brings us to a massive mindset shift. When you hit a roadblock or make a mistake, that is not failure. That's your feedback loop working perfectly. The system is just telling you, hey, time to adjust the difficulty a little. Think of it as pure information, not judgment. This is how you stay in that perfect sweet spot between challenge and skill.
And here are 2 final pro tips for engineering flow, and they are so important. How you start and how you stop matters a lot. Before you begin, use a tiny ritual, as simple as taking 3 deep breaths to signal to your brain that it's time to focus. And then after, and this is crucial, stop while you're still a little bit interested. Don't wait until you're completely drained.
It makes it so much easier to get back into the zone the next time.
So the real power in all of this isn't just about having one really productive session. It's about turning this whole thing into a regular practice.
And here is the ultimate payoff. The more you intentionally set up these conditions, the easier it gets to slip into flow. You are literally training your brain to associate deep focus with enjoyment. And eventually, that really challenging work, it stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like the reward itself.
And that brings us to the end. The only thing left to do is for you to actually apply it. So think about it. What's one task, one project, or one skill you're working on right now? What challenge will you choose to find your flow today?